House of Delegates member Rob Bell, also a candidate for Attorney General in 2017. Delegate Bell, good to have you.
Good morning, but not a basketball player.
I know. I didn't see your name on the roster.
It's gotten more serious. There was a time when people like me were fine, but boy, they've got, as you said, some. I mean, if Ben Wallace can really play. I mean, he was
an NBA player.
Sure, and not a minor one either. He was one we followed when he played with. I think they were the Bullets then, but certainly with the Wizards. But no, I mean he comes and lobbies us occasionally because he lives locally, I guess. And no, he's enormous, and it's well past the point when someone who can casually shoot it in his driveway with his son is competitive. So
well, but they cheat because if you just played straight up and you didn't bring in these extra players, the House would win. Right? They got better athletes. That's what they told me.
Well, they always say that one senator is worth 2.5 House members because there's 40 of them and 100 of us. Yeah. And we would be delighted to be able to play 2.5 people for each of their people. But I think the safest way is to say that their ringers are better than our ringers, if you could say that.
Well, it's going to be fun. We do understand that the House has recruited Elliot Sadler to play Ben Wallace. But some of the players on the House side, interesting. Chris Jones, Sam Rasool, Lamont Bagby. He's a big guy, right?
Oh, we actually were
post him up. Post Bagby up.
The median age is younger, so if it was just the senators versus the delegates, we would typically win, and there's 100 of us to draw from. But no, we had Charles Haley, the NFL player, who had visited. He was getting an award, so he was there. So we had joked that we should try to recruit him. At least he could body up on Ben. And I mean, they're both really, really big guys.
Well, you got some big guys in this and thing. And I mean, I can say this because I'm not exactly small, but Lamont Bagby, I'd hate to be going up against him.
Oh, we've got three. Ferris is really a big man, and right. Gilbert, my seatmate, is a big guy.
Yeah. So you got some big guys. So it's going to be interesting tonight. Your team captain, Tag Greason.
Tag's been talking good smack. We'll see. We'll see if we can back it up.
How it goes. And Chris Jones, the player coach of the House team. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, charter schools again. We just can't seem to get any opportunity to expand charter schools in Virginia. I told the story the other day to Senator Obenshain. I came from Atlanta, Georgia. In Fulton County, which is one county in Georgia, we had 13 charter schools, 7 of them in the city of Atlanta.
Right.
In Virginia, we have 9. In the state of Georgia, we had over 100. In Virginia, we have 9. Why?
Well, it's the setup of the laws, and that's what we're trying to change. I mean, the short version would be that Virginia, when we passed the charter school law about 18 years ago, we provided for local control, and everybody thought that was a good idea. And what has happened over the 18 years is it's clear that local control in almost every locality means local veto. And so it doesn't matter if the proposals are big or small, for special needs kids or for all kids, girls only, boys only, military style, just all the different ways people have done with curricula, doesn't matter. They get rejected. And the numbers speak for themselves, and at some point you stop worrying about why it's happening, and you could just identify that it is happening. And so the last 4 or 5 years you've seen proposals to tinker with the system, make it easier, allow them to permit. It doesn't matter. The local school boards are simply saying no. And so it's come down to a simple question of whether or not you think we should have charter schools in Virginia, because if you don't, then the current system is working great. We've got a law in the books. It keeps everybody satisfied that we've got a charter school law. And then you never, ever end up with charter schools in most of the state. Now, my Almar County, where I'm from, has got 2. So if every county had 2, we wouldn't have this law. I mean, we wouldn't be trying to change it.
Right.
But it doesn't. And so we're trying to change it. And what the proposal was is the Constitution of Virginia is what gives all the power and authority to the localities. This would give an alternate route to go through the State Board of Education. And all this does is give the General Assembly the power to do it. Absent this change, we can't. There's no change that we can make. And it passed narrowly last year, passed by 1 vote in the Senate, and it came up this year, and we got it out of the House by 2 votes, which is very narrow margin. It went to the Senate. Meanwhile, Mark Obenshain's resolution died in the Senate by 2 votes. The House version has come over to the Senate. It comes up in committee today, but we don't believe we have the votes. We're kind of scrambling around. We'll fight all the way to the end, but it looks like what happened to Mark's version is going to happen to mine.
I cannot for the life of me understand, because what you were trying to do originally when we talked to Senator Obenshain, is really the argument was you want to get it on the ballot in the form of a plebiscite.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody that owns anything pays property taxes in Virginia. That goes towards school. If you are renting something, part of your rent is to pay property taxes through the owner. So everybody's in. Everybody's in the game. If you've got children, it's one of the most critical things that you have to make a decision on as a mom or a dad or a single parent or a guardian or whatever. So why not put this on the ballot as a plebiscite and let the people of Virginia decide? It's just beyond me that you would stop Virginians from deciding for Virginians.
Well, and it's exactly right. And, I mean, nobody that I know, certainly not me, is saying that a public charter is perfect for everybody. I mean, a lot of people are very happy with the local public school. In other words, they go to the neighborhood school, and it's a good fit for their kid. But it's not a good fit for everybody. And the people who are rich, who have resources, have choices. I mean, if the local public school doesn't, suit you, you can do all sorts of things. You can, go to the local private school. If you're rich enough, you can board your kid. There's all these options if you've got money. But an awful lot of Virginians don't. They're dependent on what the public schools are offering to give their kids whatever choices they might have, or they can homeschool. And even homeschooling is, of course, an expensive fit for a parent that's got to take time off of work.
Right.
And so this was just an idea to say this is working elsewhere. It's working in conservative states like Texas. It's working in liberal states like New York. It would be a direct benefit to the students that get a chance. It's a laboratory for other ways to do things for the. In other words, even if we have 60, let's say we had 60 schools in Virginia, many kids would still not have the option. But it would still be a laboratory. You could still look at what's working, and the public schools themselves could pick it up.
Right.
All of which would still beg the question about maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is not something Virginians want. Let's find out. Okay, maybe this is some crazy idea that a bunch of sort of intellectuals and conservatives came up with. Okay, if that's in fact true, which is the attack it always gets, put it to the people. Let them decide. And if everybody is so happy with every choice they have and don't believe they or their neighbors should have additional options, then vote it down. And I can assure you we wouldn't bother with it again. That would be it'd be a referendum of the people. But we're not going to get there, and it's a disappointment because if this doesn't pass this year, amending the Constitution is very complicated. You have to have a vote, and you have to have an intervening election, and you have to have another vote. It's not as simple as, well, we'll just try again next year. It would be a whole multi-year process again.
It is, and it's very disappointing and almost shameful that we were not allowed to get this on the ballot and let the people decide. And I got to tell you, I told this to Senator Obenshain. I've been doing this, Delegate Bell, a long time. And whenever we get lobbyists railing against getting a referendum on the ballot for whatever reason, it's always bad. Because what they're afraid of is given the opportunity, the people will rise up and decide for themselves. And normally in these referendums, they make pretty good decisions. So I think if I look at everything that's happened right now in the 2016 General Assembly, that will be one that is a head scratcher. That and the fact that Chap Peterson in the Senate couldn't get his civil forfeiture bill through.
Well, that's
the other ridiculous thing that went on.
Well, and that failed too in the House, and that was the first time that it failed in the House last year. That's that doesn't break along traditional lines. And so what has happened is, so your listeners know, the issue would be there's something called civil forfeiture as part of a criminal case. At some point along the way, there's a seizure of the assets that are alleged to be from the crime, and then under current law, even if you are acquitted, the assets can be taken, can be forfeited. And so both, John, you know this, but both houses have now had bills that would say you got to get a conviction. Now, if you get convicted, then you lose your stuff. But until then, you're not a convicted criminal; you're just charged. And in the House, it had passed last year, but failed in the Senate. And so then we sent it off to the Crime Commission, because the Crime Commission meets all year, and we get together, and sometimes we can reach a consensus. And this one, we failed. We did not reach a consensus. Again, the House said that's a good idea. The Senate members said no. So then we came back this year, and we thought it was going to, again, pass the House and probably have trouble in the Senate. But it actually failed in both bodies. So we are no closer to having that passed than we were 2 years ago.
Delegate Bell, what is the rationale behind confiscating someone's property and then they're acquitted and it's not returned? What is the
I voted.
rationale?
I'm with you. No, I voted with you. I mean, there are certainly advocates on the other side that could get on your program and walk you through why they thought that this was the right approach, but it's not mine.
It's just we're going down a very dangerous path. And one of the people that came on said that, they actually said, well, it's been budgeted in. It's in a revenue line item. And so jurisdictions that are depending on that revenue would have to find other sources. So now we're just basically stealing. That's just stealing money.
They said that in committee, but that I think it's not accurate. In addition to being sort of intellectually wrong, it's not accurate because, yes, there's a fair amount of money that is forfeited. But in most cases, we think, but in most cases, it is from a conviction. In other words, if in fact the law was passed, if the Cole bill passed, then they would have to get a conviction. But in most cases, there is a conviction. So the total amount of money is not as high as what's being said. And then turn it around. If it is really big, so, all right, maybe you're right, maybe it's this huge figure, well, then that's a huge figure of people who are not having convictions.
Right.
So the problem is even bigger than we think it is.
Right.
Either way, it's not an answer to say, oh, my gosh, there's going to be a fiscal impact.
All bad either way, just no question about it, and I think we're going down a very dangerous path. It kind of reminds me of red light cameras. I've been opposed to these from day one. I remember I was in a suburb in Atlanta, Georgia, when they first came up at our Roswell City Council, the first one a very long time ago, and it was this one intersection, and that was all it was going to be on because they had too many accidents. It was going to be a test. And I remember standing up and speaking and saying, you know what, in a decade, they'll be on every street because it'll be another revenue stream, and the people selling them will give campaign donations to the politicians enacting them. I was exactly right. You can't go a block now without a red light camera in Virginia or anywhere else in the United States. So it's the same deal. John Adams, I believe, he was on my show a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I saw John last night.
Good guy. This will be decided at a Republican convention, most likely, in May of 2017. And I asked him point blank, I'm like, what's your beef with Bell? And he said he can't win. He will get beat by Attorney General Herring. He cannot win in November. That's my issue. How do you respond to that?
I've had a chance now to spend some time with John. We seem to be on the circuit together, but obviously I don't agree. I would point a couple things. First, there are, I think, numerous issues that Mark Herring has taken positions on that I'm on the other side, and frankly, I'm on the side where Virginians are, and he's doing the bidding of special interest groups. So whether it be, he's supporting cap and trade, didn't sit it out, but actually said Virginia's position should be that the EPA should be able to do cap and trade. So where West Virginia and Kentucky are suing the federal government, he's on the same side. We have the whole issue with guns that has just come up where he did all he could to revoke reciprocity, and even Terry McAuliffe, those bills just got to his desk, but even Terry McAuliffe said, oh my gosh, Herring's gone too far. I don't agree with you. He's filing in cases like mandatory union dues. We don't even have a dog in the fight in Virginia, and he's filing it on the wrong side. So it'll be easy, I think, to draw a comparison and say, you want 4 more years of this, you can have it, but if you want a change, if you want somebody who's actually going to represent Virginians, I'm your guy. And then in terms of winning, I've represented a county, it's called the Charlottesville District. It's not quite accurate because I don't have the city. That's another guy. But, a district that voted for Tim Kaine, a district that voted for Mark Warner, and I've won, running away every election I've had. So I think that I'm about as battle-tested as you could be. I think my last run for Attorney General was I'm proud of the effort we made. We didn't win, but I think I certainly showed people that I'm ready for the prime time. And so, I look forward to the race.
Well, look, I just want to remind our audience, back in 2013, you ran a very spirited race for Attorney General against Mark Obenshain. Your colleague, you went in as an underdog, but I call it like I see it, as you know, Delegate Bell, and we were there live that entire day, and we projected that at 11 a.m. that you were going to win. We thought you got your people out. And a lot of the folks that we talked to were new. They had come in just for you specifically. We looked at the numbers there, and we said, Rob Bell is going to win this thing. And remember, the governor, the attorney general at the time, candidate for governor, Ken Cuccinelli, at the final hour, put out a public endorsement of Mark Obenshain, circulated that petition that I believe put him over the top. So I believe had that not happened, you would have beaten him. And I know I'm right.
Well, Mark Obenshain would have been a terrific attorney general. I just wish we'd had 166 more votes.
Yes, absolutely. Now, going to your campaign, We expect there's going to be a convention in 2017, probably Charlottesville or Richmond. How do you win?
The convention, you mean?
Yes.
Oh, gosh, I don't think there's any big tricks to this. We travel around the state, and we reintroduce myself. It's a little easier than last time because I met a lot of people last time. But, last few weeks we've been to, Norfolk, Newport News, Chesapeake, Portsmouth. I just was up in Middlesex. I mean, just you travel the state, you meet the people that are likely to be convention goers, and then as we get closer and closer, people will start to commit to be convention goers, and then, of course, you've got to get them in the room. I wish it were more glamorous like it is. I understand you're going to talk to Bernie Sanders in a few minutes. It's nothing quite as exciting as that. It's a lot of miles on the car. It's
a lot of miles, but it seems like I don't think you're going to get outworked. I'll say that. I have to say for our audience, Rob Bell is everywhere that I am, at even the big meetings, the little meetings for precincts. Rob Bell is there, and I think you're going to be very, very tough to beat at the convention in 2017. I have you as a prohibitive favorite for that. I'm out of time. Me
too. Got to get to committee at 8:30. So best to all your listeners, and I'll talk to you next. Listeners, rather, I'll talk to you next time.
All right. I want to thank Rob Bell for being with us.